Hello and welcome to this edition of the Startup Central. I'm Nayantara Rai, working from home. This is the only show of its kind on Indian television dedicated, of course, to startups, also technology, innovation, disruption, entrepreneurship. Basically, if it falls under the gambit of the new economy, it's here every weekday at 6 p.m. on your favorite channel, ET Now. Ladies and gentlemen, like all the stakeholders that we get on this show, Team Startup Central thrives on constructive criticism. Don't hold back. We can handle it. We want to hear from you. We love getting your emails. Tell us how we should be doing the show differently, what we should be adding, subtracting, mixing things up. Our email address right on top, suc@etnow.tv. As the year winds down, what did it mean for all of you salaried folks? Razorpay has became a unicorn in this year as well, and has come out with a very interesting report on COVID-19 and the impact on payroll salaries. I'm going to be discussing that and more with Shashank Kumar, the co-founder and CTO at Razorpay. Hi Shashank, welcome to the show. Pleasure talking to you. This is Nayantara. Razorpay, of course, also has a division for payrolls and all of that. I'll get to that in just a bit. But I found your study to be really, really interesting. And the most interesting thing that I found was that all the gloom and doom that was there at the beginning of the lockdown seems to be withering away.
Hey Nandra, hi. Yes, you're absolutely right. When the pandemic started, there was a lot of negativity and gloom and doom surrounding the startup ecosystem. And to an extent, quite a few sectors like travel and hospitality were really badly affected, still are. And we saw a lot of impact of the pandemic on the employees and the companies, and a lot of expenses being cut, some discretionary and some employees as well. But over the past couple of months, we are seeing recovery starting to happen, and as things are opening up further, we are seeing things returning back to pre-COVID levels in quite a few sectors.
So, what are the sectors, according to you, where you are, if your study has it, the details, that are doing better? Like, for example, EdTech has done very well, e-commerce has done well, health tech has done well during the pandemic for obvious reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. EdTech, health tech, e-commerce have been doing well throughout the pandemic, and even gaming is a sector which has been really positively affected. And as people have more time on their hands, they're kind of spending it playing games at home, right? But even within these sectors, even though certain companies have been doing well, overall what we have seen is that more than 70% startups have been affected by the pandemic and reduced their operational and administrative expenses. And among them, more than 24% of employees saw salary cuts back in April, May. And even till date, we are seeing 14% employees continue to be affected in terms of the salaries that they were drawing compared to pre-COVID times. Beyond that, then what we are seeing is that travel and hotel reimbursements have been affected by more than 90% and 74% respectively in the initial months that is there. And another interesting point to note is that food and fuel expenses initially saw a significant decline, like more than 80%. But later, we saw it returning back to normal as companies started giving food vouchers to employees instead of when they used to do regular catering in offices. And not surprisingly, internet and telephony reimbursements have seen 100% increase compared to previous times, as now companies are trying to give a very comfortable work from home setup to their employees.
Okay, and if I could now also ask you, you've given us the basic synopsis of the report, where you've also seen a 55% spike between July and November for reimbursements. What reimbursements, Shashank? Because we still don't have clarity from the government on what we are supposed to do with a leave travel allowance for conveyance, all of that. So what kind of reimbursements is it? Or have you seen the companies have rejigged salaries just so that the employee's take home is not so badly impacted?
So actually, this was a surprising point for us, and we digged further into this. So companies spend a lot on office spaces and taking care of their employees during office times that is there, right? But because everyone is working from home and a lot of people have gone back to their hometown and working remotely, now companies are taking those expenses and helping employees set up a better work from home setup at home so that they can work more effectively. So instead of giving travel allowances like cabs or buses to the office that companies are spending at, or giving allowances for machines and laptops or chairs at offices, companies are taking those expenses and giving it to employees to purchase the best work from home setup that they can have at the house, and taking reimbursements for that. So that is the reason we saw a spike in those reimbursements later, and even the food bill expenses that are there, right? So a lot of these virtual town halls or meetings, a lot of companies are giving food vouchers to employees so that they can order deliveries from Swiggy and Zomato like platforms.
59% of the startups paid out employee bonuses between April and November. That's also very heartening. Do you have any idea what kind of startups these are? And would you have access to any kind of insights on what they're planning for the new year? Simply because, you also manage a payroll software.
So that's very interesting. We saw a significant decline in bonus in the initial period that is there, right? But we are seeing it return to normal, and we see that especially in the half year ended around September, we see that more than 70 to 80% of the employees have got their bonuses disbursed, right? For the new year, I think it's still some plans are being made, but we are seeing that a lot of companies are planning events around the end of the year and putting up their plans for the next year that is there, right? And one of the major things that I think is going to have an impact for the next financial year is the law that the government is talking about around how basic pay needs to be changed and needs to be more than 50% for the overall employee salary, right? And we are really closely tracking it and advising our customers on how they can restructure their salaries. And that's one of the major talking points that is currently there in the startup community.
So when there's this kind of new structuring for salaries, can you give us insights what it's actually looking like? That'll be really good to know what it is the startup community is doing. And also don't forget, it's recruitment season. And of course, I mean, any of those that are looking for jobs, it's good to know all of this. How are they planning to restructure salaries?
So I think this is still under discussion. I think everyone is still waiting for, how more details around this, on how the law pans out, right? And there's still time around this. And what we are basically seeing is that this, however the restructuring happens, the take-home pay may reduce slightly. So the companies will have to figure out how to bear the cost of it, for the employees that are there. But beyond that, I think the sectors which have been doing well, right? So be it edtech or gaming or healthcare, are doing really well to attract the talents as well. And even in these times, we are seeing healthy pull for talent in these sectors, and candidates and prospective employees kind of gravitating toward these sectors because of the future scope that they see. On the other hand, for certain sectors like travel and hospitality, which are badly affected, we are seeing signs of recovery. In fact, the travel and the reimbursements have started going up already. But I think there's still some time before these sectors come back to normal and to pre-COVID levels.
The other thing I want to ask you, while this is all under discussion, now ESOPs is of course the currency for the startup street. The absence of the word ESOPs was very conspicuous in the report. Is that because there's no proper trend? Because we have, in the press at least, have been reading about so many startups that have been doing buybacks, or at least increasing the pool, or trying to make up for salary cuts with ESOPs.
Absolutely, I think they are not very good tools which kind of monitor or help with ESOP management today. But what we are seeing in general is that as companies reduced the salary cuts and did more salary cuts, they did give out ESOPs to the employees whom they really want to retain and ensure their longevity in the company. So definitely ESOP expenses increased, but I don't think it kind of offsets the salary cuts in any ways, because the impact of salary cuts is very immediate to you, while ESOPs are a more long-term retention tool that is there. So in general, what we are seeing is For employees in which the companies want to invest and retain long term, I think it acts as a good retention tool. But beyond that, especially for junior level employees, it's not a great tool that can be leveraged. Also, companies which have done ESOP buybacks previously, like Razorpay and others in the ecosystem, the value of ESOP comes out to be much more than generally for companies which are not having a good practice around ESOPs and haven't encouraged ESOP buybacks till late in the ecosystem.
Shashank, before I let you go as well, the entire automation of salaries, payrolls that you alluded to in your first answer itself, I want to go into that now. How has that panned out during the pandemic? Everyone's hands have been tied, right? And what kind of have you ever done any analysis on the kind of cost saving a company can do with this kind of automation? I know, most companies have already automated it. The point is, how much have they upgraded?
You would be actually shocked to know that how many companies have not automated their payroll, right? And a lot of businesses, right? Almost, I would say 60% of startups and organized sector today still operate with paper and Excel sheet based calculations for payroll. And when they do so, in more than 50% of the cases, there are some sort of manual error that kind of comes in. And then you have to spend a lot of bandwidth in fixing those errors. And I would say that, pandemic has kind of given a push towards digitization in all sectors and in all ways. And even in payroll, we are seeing increasing adoption of automated tools and SaaS-based tools. And even for our own payroll solution, we have seen like more than 20% growth month on month in last 6 months than before what we used to see, right? And another interesting insight is that it's not just about the manual calculation for payroll that you need to do. You need to also file your provident fund, professional tax, ESI, TDS. So there are a host of things, and you need to constantly be on top of filing these things for compliance purposes, right? And automated tool also helps you do all of that, and hence you can save a lot of time and have peace of mind. I remember when I started the company, actually, my co-founder used to actually go to the banking tool and calculate all the salaries and then pay it out. And he used to have his laptop on that day, wherever, even if he's in Goa on vacation, he need to kind of have his laptop to ensure that he's making those transfers on time, right? With automated tools, all of those worries for entrepreneurs and finance people kind of completely go away. And you can schedule this, you can have these calculations done and have a lot of peace of mind.
I don't know if that was Harshil that you were talking about, but good to know that. But so you're saying that a vast majority still have to automate it. But when I'm sure when you go out and you pitch the Razorpay payroll software, you explain what kind of savings can be incurred, not just in time, and I know time is money, but that's also intangible, so we can't calculate it. But in just actual fungible, tangible money, what kind of savings are we talking about?
So in terms of what we have seen in terms of the time that gets saved, typically we have seen you save almost like 30 to 40 hours a month. That is there simply because you are generating pay slips for employees, you're answering the queries around the structure that is there. So there's a lot of time saving that happens. And then beyond that, we have seen about something like 2 to 3 lakhs being saved on a monthly basis in terms of the payroll handling that is there. And I'm only talking about young startups, not even mid-scale companies, young startups which are 20 to 30 employees or less than 50 employees that are there, because you have to spend time with your CA for all the calculations, you have to spend your own time for all the calculations and filing your salaries. So almost a savings of 2 to 3 lakhs that we are seeing on a monthly basis currently. And without the value add that we have started providing, in terms of the employee experience, I don't think we can put a cost to it today.
With that, Shashank, I'm going to thank you for joining us on this edition of the Startup Central. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Look forward to many more interviews. I know you've had a fantastic year, and here's wishing you and the entire Razorpay team a very happy new year.
Thanks a lot, Nanda. Thanks for inviting.
Well, with that, we're going to take a short commercial break. Coming up on the other side, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal promises to make New Delhi a global hub for startups. Is that even possible? We'll take that up and more after this break.